Today I got a special podcast, and not just because it's his family, but to me, and I know she's a humble person, so she won't take this. I think this is basketball royalty in Rhode Island. And it's not just basketball royalty, it's human being royalty. And when you hear a story, you know a little bit more. And a lot of people talk about plays from Rhode Island and this, that, and the other. But this person right here is not just a baller from Rhode Island, but it's a person who's giving back. And I want to first congratulate you on your new job and your new career path. And it's something that we need more people who are from the city giving back to the city. Because a lot of times people see the person that does something on the court, on the field, or on the rink, whatever the sport may be. And then once they're done, they leave the state and they move on to the next venture. But not her right here. She stayed in the state, she stayed in the city. Now she's giving back to a great organization, something that the city needs, something that the state needs, and something that the people of the city need. Her path with basketball was all over the place, all over the globe, and all over the world. But still, she stuck with her roots, and she's back home in Rhode Island. She was a star athlete wherever she went, whether it be Bayview, whether it be Rick, whether it be playing for the Cape Verdean national team, whether it be going overseas. But still, something brought her back to Providence, something brought her back to Rhode Island. And that's what we need, in positive role models. So welcome, Vandell. How's it going?
It's good. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me on here. I love what you're doing. It's awesome.
Definitely, especially like my niece is a diehard basketball fan right now. She's in 7th grade, and she loves playing ball. Like her dreams always go to UConn, and I mean that's everyone's girls basketball player want to go to UConn. And I keep telling there's so many players from Rhode Island that play ball, but her mind's just UConn, and I want to show her as athletes from local that you should learn more about. I mean, me, when it comes to like women's basketball, I say Diana Taurasi's the GOAT. And the fact that she goes to UConn is kind of not helping my case, but I want to show her there's other players that come local, and not only do they play ball, but they use that to set up their path for whatever they want to do afterwards. So just a little bit about you. What was your path to get where you're at now?
So honestly, my path was, I want to say, it was definitely injury ridden. I had to learn a lot in the process about myself and really, sit down and truly decide like what it is that I wanted. And, do I want to hang out with my friends or am I going to go and, play pickup on the court? Like it was just trying to decide the balance and figure out like where and what basketball meant to me and where it stood in my life. And obviously it became my number one priority. I literally did everything basketball growing up. I was a gym rat. I was in the gym, wherever I could be in the gym. I was playing pickup a lot. I wish at the time when I was in the gym, it wasn't so much geared towards pickup. It was geared towards developing me skill-wise and just, honing those skills. But, now it's all about the training, getting with your trainer one-on-one, like strength and conditioning, which I think is huge for these young athletes now. It really helps them overall because, I didn't really know what conditioning was, any of that was until I got to college. I realized I had been out of shape, my whole life pretty much until I was in college. Like that's when I really was pushed to limits that, I wouldn't have been pushed to if it hadn't been for athletics.
It is crazy because you probably don't remember one of the first times I met you was it was doing a family like cookout type event up in Canonicus, up in Exeter.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, this was probably like 12 years ago. I think you had a boot on, or you had like it wasn't crutches, but you had a boot on your ankle. And you were still trying to shoot and you were still trying to ball. And your mom kept telling you, no basketball. But you still had the ball. You were still dribbling. And that's the drive that people like, they miss that now. Because I remember like my niece and my nephews, they all play. My nephew's playing for Blackstone Valley. He's in the semifinals right now. And I kept telling them, in the summertime, when they took the rims away, a lot of these kids didn't know what to do.
Right.
And I'm like, if you're a point guard, you don't need a rim to play. There's so many things you can do without the rim.
Absolutely.
But they just catered to playing, I want to play one-on-one, and not really doing a drill mindset.
Exactly. I think them, obviously taking away the rims and, people don't have a place to go. I mean, obviously the pandemic was something that nobody really could really prepare for mentally, emotionally, physically, anything until it like hit us. But I think one of those things where it's like, okay, so now I don't have the hoop. So what else can I do to master my skills? And like, I'm one of those now, as you know, as an adult, pushing 30. When I look at players and I look at player development, I'm looking at the full picture. You know, like, you know, for the longest time, I'm only about 5'7", 5'8". You know, I'll say I'm 5'11", but I'm really not.
I hear that.
They had me as a center on a lot of my teams, and I wasn't developing my guard skills. I wasn't developing my ball handling. My shot could have been a lot better. So, and that's one of those things I preach now is like develop the kids all the way around in every aspect. Like let them have dribbling in their toolbox, shooting in their toolbox, you know, a little back to the basket, like just so it's like a complete game that makes you so versatile. So it's important. It's for player development. So I think in those moments, like, yeah, there's no hoops, can't do anything, but there's other ways to like sharpen your skills and like get you stronger, faster, and just really developing you all around.
And it's funny you say that because I was actually watching one of your mixtapes you have on YouTube just to like learn a little bit more about your story. And one thing I loved about it, there was one when you was playing for the Cape Verde national team, and for a good 45 seconds in the video, you didn't have the ball at all, but it was all your highlights of deep switching, coming off screens and like getting around screens, and you had to stay on a fast break. A lot of these kids, that mixtape is all driving to the basket. They don't show the defensive side. They don't show the full game because everyone wants to be like that highlight reel, but they don't want to do the key things. And I know, like, after, you know, you're playing, you went into coaching. How hard was that to adjust and teaching that mindset from as a player to going into coaching?
Yeah. So I thought, honestly, it was going to be a more difficult transition for me because, you know, ball is life. And I just had got done playing. I was still like unsure of what I wanted to do next. And then when the coaching opportunity came about, I was super grateful for it because, you know, it taught me a lot. And it, you know, helped me realize how much I do enjoy working with, you know, youth and just young adults. They're super fun to be around. And just going back to the transition factor of it all, it was honestly easier to like help them. And I, as a player, I just have to say this, I hated film. Like I thought film was boring. I just hated it. But as a coach, film was my favorite thing to do. I loved breaking down the film. I loved studying the game. So it was such a good experience for me, I think, overall. And it helped me, you know, see basketball from a different aspect.
And it's crazy because like I'm coaching at LaSalle now, and like because being
I mean, I went to Bayview.
Exactly.
We don't get along with LaSalle. Not that we don't get along, but the rivalry is intense. But I mean, I'm happy that you're there coaching. You know,
I mean, you guys had some battles forever between you guys when I was there. It was either you or LaSalle every year, and then I thought it was South Kingston or North Kingston was right around the same.
Yeah, South Kingstown had like a run for a little bit. They had a couple good players. I mean, overall good team, but they had two strong players, really good players.
But like coaching now, and I mean, I haven't played. I graduated in 2002, and I'm still back there. And these kids want to test me. They're like, Coach, can you cover me? Can you cover me? And I'm like, I give you one or two routes, and that's about it. So you fresh off playing, did anybody challenge you or test you?
Of course. You know, and there's times when you, as a coach, sometimes you want to get out there and you want to just show them like little things that, you know, it doesn't really necessarily translate if you're just, you know, talking to them about it. Or a lot of people are visual learners. They need to like see it and know what you're talking about as far as positioning. So getting in there was, I mean, it was fun. I mean, there were times where I didn't really always want to because I didn't always know how to turn off my competitive edge.
Yeah.
I'm such a competitor that every time I got on the court, like I needed to compete to my highest level. And obviously I wasn't in any physical condition to be running with these college athletes who are training all year long. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm gonna injure myself. Like I literally I couldn't always do it, but I loved doing like breakdowns. So we would take like some take the guard, some take the post players, and just working on like play development in a just breaking it down, going over moves and stuff like that. That was fun for me to get in there, because then it's easy to like, get a pad and like push them around. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so that was fun.
Especially with football now, we're doing routes and the kid goes to catch the ball. I want to slap his hand down, and next thing you know, I'm like, he gets hurt and I can't.
Right, yeah. So be mindful of that and just.
But how did it feel coaching a team that you used to play for?
So I mean, because I had transferred from Rick, there was a lot of I don't want to say unresolved feelings there from my time there, because my time there was good. I do not think Rick was the right fit for me as far as like school wise. It didn't give me what I was looking for out of a school. I mean, basketball wise, it was fine. Really successful there, which I'm super grateful for that start, because it allowed me to really push myself and see exactly what I was capable of. But I think it was good to go back, because I didn't leave on like any sour note, I would say, but it definitely was a little bitter for people around there, because I was such a big piece to the basketball program. So
big piece. All decade team. That's just a little bit of a big piece.
Yeah, it's like a little impact that I had there, which obviously just I learned so many lessons as a player, as a person, and just personal growth. But so I think it was full circle for me to go back, full circle to complete those few years that I was there coaching. It brought it back full circle. And it was definitely, it was nice. It was nice. It had a lot of, when I transferred out of Rick, I started to put a lot of things that happened at Rick just like out of sight. Like I just completely, not that I erased it, but it was like, okay, I'm just going to leave it at Rick, and like, that's where it'll stay. So, there were some things in the way it ended, from like a coaching standpoint, and things that happened to me that I was a little bit like, wow, I can't believe, like, you spend all your time trusting somebody, and then they just, the way it transpired, it was kind of like, all right, forget about it. But when I got back there and actually was physically on that campus and got like reacclimated, it was nice to see, and nice to reminisce about, wow, like there were like a lot of good memories here.
Now, you want to use the good and the bad to develop, or you try to forget the bad and just focus on the good?
So I'm all about, lessons and growth. So my biggest thing is growth, and I always want to continue to grow, and improve in any aspect, whether it's big, small, medium, whatever the case may be. So I definitely use it as a lot. It was a lot of teachable moments, and just maturing as a young adult. There were I shied away from, especially when I was, going through a tough phase in my life, with school and life. It was like I was putting like a lot of challenges on my coaches back then, and like just seeing and testing a lot of limits, and and it was, but overall, I mean, it is what it is. I think you learn from it 100%. And it's always there, so that way, because I don't try not to, make the same mistakes multiple times, and expect a different result. But that was my biggest thing. Like, okay, this is what happened. Let's move on and let's grow. And that's exactly what I think happened.
But it seems like your transition was just like effortless going from, I mean, I know it takes a lot of effort, but just going from Bayview to Rick and just putting up a double, like right off, like it was nothing. Was it a harder transition than it looked for you, or did you just make it look easy?
I think, honestly, offensively, I was probably okay. I think my biggest struggle was, getting into college and being more disciplined defensively. And I had a coach that was, she was big on defense, and she drilled defense. And, there was a time, I'll give you a little example. There was a time where I was, we were doing like a shell drill, and I kept getting beat. And I'm athletic, so I could recover and make up for it. But I was getting frustrated with myself. And I was honestly, I believe, just a freshman. And I like put my head in my jersey. And, I didn't think it was like a big deal, but my coach, he like called me out for that, like big time. And I was just like, I'm frustrated at myself.
Yeah.
Because I want to be really good at this drill and I'm getting frustrated with myself. Like it wasn't, like me just trying to have an attitude on the court, anything. It was more so like, I need to get this right, and I know what I'm capable of. So I want to get it right. So I think that was the hardest transition from high school to college, aside from, getting in shape and conditioning. But it's just like those little things that aren't really drilled in high school that you can get away with. You get away with so much in high school. We had such a dominant team. So truth be told, my senior year, I was obviously the healthiest I've been. I feel like I barely played until playoffs.
Oh.
Because we blew out every team. So
gotcha.
Yeah, and there was 9 seniors, and we pretty much all were like capable of going out there and like putting up points and playing defense. And we just went in there and crushed teams. They got finished the job, and then we sat on the bench and we kind of like bonded by being silly on the bench and stuff. But so that was the biggest thing.
Do you still have bonds with the team from those 9 seniors?
I do actually like quite a few of them. I think aside from like 1 or 2 maybe, but the rest of them, I still talk to like Nina. She's one of my close friends. Meg Martin, like we still are in contact to this day. Overall, I think the biggest thing was, basketball is a huge piece, but the culture at Bayview was awesome. And we were able to foster like so many friendships and like lifelong friendships at that. Like not just like, oh, we went to high school together. Like it's okay. We may not talk to each other every day, but we still go out and get together and connect. And that's not even just the athletes, not my teammates. It's like other girls too, that I graduated with. So it's nice community there, culture.
That's one thing, because I graduated from San Miguel in middle school, and our class was only 15 kids.
Yep.
And I still talk to all the kids from that class, but I probably talked to 1 or 2 kids from my high school because it was so big.
So big, right?
Yeah. So being part of a small community, you keep those bonds. But when I got to LaSalle, it was just a shell shock because there was so many people, so many backgrounds, and I wasn't used to being around so many white people.
Right. So, and I think, it's funny that you bring that up. Obviously LaSalle is a powerhouse in many aspects, like great school, good academics, obviously sports are phenomenal, facilities are phenomenal, everything's great. I think what they lack there is they don't always do a good job of when you bring in like your minorities, like you need to keep in mind that like what we go home to isn't the same as like what we're coming into. So it looks much different for us as far as like school and like discipline and like what kind of supports we're gonna need. And I say this, like Bayview truly, when I came in, they embraced me, they supported me, and it was like, all right, what do you need? Like, and they were on my scheduling, they made sure I had the right supports that I needed, so that way I didn't get there and I didn't just, and I wasn't shell shocked. It was like they integrated me really well into the school system, and they gave me the right supports that I needed. And it wasn't that I was not capable of doing the work, because I 100% was capable. There were times where I didn't have good habits. Like, no one's teaching me how to study at home. No one was really asking me, like, okay, how much homework do you have tonight? Like, did you sit down and do your homework? Like, I was pretty much able to go home and do it all at my own pace. And so whereas that sometimes doesn't translate in the classroom as well, when there's like structure and like discipline, it's hard for some people to really switch worlds, in and out, and like it's just such a difference. And unfortunately, they seen like really good players leave their school because I think they don't offer them enough supports once they're in there.
Now, for you growing up, is that something at Bayview that was like helped you in your success going forward?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still very close with the associate principal, Miss Pate, the former athletic director, Miss Neal. Still very close to them. One of my favorite people of all time. She's a psychology teacher there. I love her to death. And those relationships are super important. They from day one they built trust with me. I was able to trust them, and it fostered such a good relationship that now that I'm almost like 30 and I'm almost 10 years removed from high school, like I'm still in contact with these people because, you know, that's how much of an impact they left on me. And overall, and plus my coach, my Doug Haynes, like he was definitely like a father figure to me. You know, gave me rides, you know, make sure he got me food after practice, picked me up before games, whatever I needed. They literally came together and just were super supportive of me. And I think they are a huge piece as to like who I am today.
Yeah.
They really helped me out, probably beyond they could even like realize. They truly did.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I still go back to my middle school and I still talk to the kids there. And
Mm-hmm.
just they need someone they can relate to, because a lot of times it's like once you're gone, you just forget about where you came from. And like you talk about like reaching out and taking that. A lot of times kids from the inner city, they have too much pride to get
Right.
help, too much pride. So where does that like humbleness from you come from? 'Cause I hear like the way you talk, and it's like I could throw your stats out all day long, and you'll just be like, I could have did more.
I could
But where's
100%.
that,
Yeah.
where does that humble mentality come from?
So I think for me, so transitioning into high school at the time, I was coming from St. Patrick's Middle School,
Okay.
small private school, like similar to San Miguel. And I, you know, I had my ups and downs there. I just was misbehaving in the classroom, you know, and just not really listening all the time. And, you know, Bayview, they had a meeting with myself and my mom and like the associate principal, the principal, like we all were in a room. And obviously you take a test to get into Bayview. And
Yeah.
they had my report card and they're like, your grades are good. Like they're fine. We're not concerned about your grades. It's the conduct, you know, like the conduct reports about me misbehaving in classes and just, you know, being a class clown. Essentially,
Yeah.
that's what I was, being a class clown. And like, you know, they highlighted that to me, and they told me they want me to be successful here when I come here. And, you know, they let me know that that kind of behavior isn't going to fly by in the classrooms. So, you know, I still had a lot to learn going in as far as like, you know, not being the class clown and joking around and, you know, be serious when it's time to be serious and have fun when it's time to have fun. Get your stuff done. But I think, you know, that meeting to me was like an eye opener. Nobody ever like sat me down and like really like did that for me, you know? And I was like, wow, these people must really care about me. I'm like, they barely know me, but they like literally sat down and they're like already teaching me all these lessons. And then like the biggest challenge and hurdles was my knee surgeries. I fractured both my patellas, and at the time it was like I loved high school and I loved going to Bayview, and I didn't mind the commute. But basketball also was a big piece of me, and I lost that. So I was able to find a lot of myself without basketball through Bayview at Bayview, which when I look back in hindsight, I'm like, wow, like that was really crucial to my development because ball was life. All I did was basketball. And now for once in my life, I didn't have basketball. You know, I couldn't play. And like I could be with my team and be with them and, you know, experience things with them, but there's nothing like playing, you know, nothing like the adrenaline and what it did for me. Like I needed to play. But for once I learned to function without playing. And it was with their community support that really like helped me see that like, wow, I'm surrounded by a lot of great people.
I think sometimes when you take away the sport you play, you realize you're not just an athlete. I know the term now, more than an athlete, is getting thrown around. Yep. But once I finally was done playing football, then that's when I realized I could do so much more and not have a kid of sports. And that's when I started doing my public speaking. That's when I started reaching out and coaching and doing more. Because a lot of times, like some high schools, college, wherever, they put you on the field and they're like, go get us a touchdown. And then you're done and that's it. But once it's taken away, it's like, where's the mental aspect of you developing outside of the sport? And that's when you find yourself, and that's what you really need, especially in high school.
Exactly. And I think accountability is important. And they always held me accountable, even when I didn't want to be held accountable. I think that was huge for my growth. And when I just think of a lot of moments and like big moments in high school, like they all like had huge influences like on those moments. And I mean, it's no diss to my family or anything, but at home, like I didn't really have discipline. You know, I wasn't like running the streets or doing anything bad that my mother had to watch me closely.
Mhm.
But like that's also a disconnect. So I'm going to a school where there's a lot of structure, discipline, and it's a different world for me. But when I go home, it's different in the sense like I could pretty much do, what I wanted within limits, obviously nothing like
Yeah.
reckless. And there was no accountability at home.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe that, me being held accountable for a lot of things helped me, and it helped in my development.
I remember when I was playing in high school, like my brother, he was in gangs and he was running around, and the Providence police actually put together a gang football league where
Wow.
gangs got together and he played football and the cops would arrest just to get out and have something positive. And I actually played for LaSalle at 12:30, finished my game, and I went and played at the gang football league at 5. And then my picture got in the paper, and I got suspended for doing it
Really?
because they said it made the school look bad,
Look bad. Okay.
and
Got
it
you.
made the school look bad.
Well, see, in my opinion, that's kind of ridiculous. But it is, obviously it happened. But I think that is like the community policing that the community needs, though.
Exactly.
That's huge for our environment. Like if I was in high school, it didn't matter. I was always like with my friends playing basketball, doing something. So I wasn't really like in Chad Brown anymore. But when I was younger, there's 2 cops that I remember. And one is Max, and I hope he's resting in peace, Max. And then there was another guy, Max's partner, who I forget his name. They always were interacting with us in the community.
Yeah.
Like they would always stop their car, say hi, maybe flash some lights for us. And to me, like I never looked at police as the bad guy until much later on.
Mhm.
A little bit, not so much the bad guy, but all the stuff that was happening. It was like, kind of turned my stomach. But like that's important to youth, and I think they missed the message there because they're so worried about their own image. Just like nobody wants, to see the front page of like an athlete from LaSalle, like playing in a gang league because of gang, or whatever that comes with the association and the judgments that come with it. And for me, that's like an issue with like society, is all the labeling and judgments that come with a lot of things.
And it's crazy because just like hearing you talk, I knew a little about your basketball story and seeing your job now, and you can explain it more. But your profession now, what was it that led you to doing what you're doing now?
So like I said, as soon as I left Spain early to come back and coach at Rick, and working with the kids there and the youth there was a lot of fun for me. You got to have fun. You learn the lingo. Like it was like really fun. So then I transitioned to as a residential counselor at St. Mary's Home for Children up the street from Rick. And I was a TA there in the classroom with the kids, and just being able to be in that kind of environment with kids that are struggling with various types of traumas. Like these poor kids, and I've seen a lot of similarities in myself and these kids. And when the opportunity came up to take the civil service exam for a child protective investigator position, I thought it would be a perfect job for me because I can merge like what it is I wanted to do. I went to school for criminology with a concentration in law enforcement. And when I was in college, especially right before I graduated, was when police brutality was like highlighted on all the media, and it was just everywhere. So it definitely deterred me from wanting to be a police officer. And then, which it was fine though. But I mean, when I saw the job title and what it entailed, I'm like, wow, this is a perfect bridge for me because I get to go in and like help families while working with kids, while also, it's very similar to doing some investigative work that like detectives do or whatever. And I thought it would be perfect blend. So far, I like it a lot. I know CPS doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people, and DCYF gets a bad rep. But overall, I like where they're heading, and they made a lot of changes. And I just hope that people will see it one day, what they're really trying to do for families to better them.
It's crazy because like watching your highlights, because when I heard you was coming out, I was honored to have you on because I wanted to give you your roses because players like you, sometimes they get forgotten. Because I was watching about your sophomore year when you went play a tournament, you took 6 shots, but you still finished with 15 points. It was all from the free throw line. And one thing I always laugh is when they call it the charity stripe, because there's nothing charity about it. You still got to hit the shot.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you would do all the things that nobody really talked about, but then at the end of the game, you got 18, 15, and 4. And that's like those unspoken things. And now with your profession now, like DCYF, there's so much stuff behind the scenes that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But when something negative happens, then it's brought to light. But when
Right.
all the other positive things happen, they're never talked about. So you like when that happens, like how do you like stay doing something positive with a smile, knowing that not that you need it, but you're not getting the recognition that you deserve?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's like one of those it's like lows. It's gonna come, highs and lows come with anything you do. You know, in high school, there was times when my coach, he pulled me aside right before senior year state playoffs, and I'll never forget this conversation. He said that they were doubting me, like my name's not even in talks for receiving some awards, like all conference awards. Like they were pretty much like pushing me to the side, and I know I had missed quite a bit of high school basketball due to injuries, but he was like, you're not even being considered. And I mean, I don't know if he used it as motivation, but I believe him when he said it. And I think, and that's like that in itself, like hearing that, like pushed me. And I had a good playoff run, like a really good playoff run in high school. And it's just like those little things where it pushes me. And like now I see my new coworkers who I'm still getting familiar with. I see them and how they handle things with grace, and it's just class and just respect. And, you know, you go through extensive trainings, but like the most important thing is that they're still people, you know, and they're still treated like people regardless of the situation around them. And it's being more mindful that it's not just like, wow, like, okay, this parent did this, and this to their child to hurt them. But like, it's looking at the whole picture. Like, how can you prevent this? Like, what really like caused this? Because at the end of the day, like, obviously, you know, generational trauma is continuously happening.
Yeah.
Like we've probably all been affected by it in some way or another. And like what people also fail to realize is like when your child's exposed to certain things, it affects them later on in life.
And sometimes it becomes normal to some kids. And it's like that's what they're expecting to see. Like I talk to some of my kids and like I'll ask them, you know, oh, make sure your parent signs this. And I had a kid at 10 and told me, oh, my mom will be back for another 2 days. I'm like, well, who's watching you? And like the lady upstairs. And this kid's 9 or 11 years old. And I'm like, do I say something? But for that dynamic, it was normal. But it was like in certain cases to some people that may be like, that's wrong, whatever else. But it was normal.
Normal, right?
That's just what was normalized then.
Yeah.
Now, like, do you feel extra pressure the fact that you're from the city and you're still giving back to the city with people?
No, I mean, I think a lot of people pressure themselves. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist because I'm definitely not a perfectionist, but whatever I do, I want to be good at it. Mm-hmm. And like, I guess it's not just good. Like I need to be great at it and I need to be one of the best. And it goes back to my competitive edge. And like, but the biggest thing and going back to like how I transitioned from Rick to Lemoyne, and, you know, I just always reminded myself to be patient with myself. Because we're all going to hit learning curves and I'm learning. And like, I had to repeatedly, when I tell you repeatedly, that's what I did. I did a lot of self-talk repeatedly to myself about being patient with myself and allowing it to just happen organically. And just, you know, but also I'm not taking away from like how hard I'm working. Cause I'm working really hard. But like, in anything, I'm just trying to remind myself to be patient and like really get that understanding and knowledge so I can be like great like I want to be at what I do.
Like hearing you talk, you got a lot of that Mamba in you, using like the quotes and everything else. You got that Mamba mentality. Do you listen to any podcasts or any like meditation to get your inspiration, or is that just self-taught in your head?
No, I mean, I started doing this from when I was younger, but you know, now I am definitely more into I'm reading the news. I'm reading things around me. I'm listening to things. I am like more in tune to it. And when I hear it and I'm like, wow, like a lot of people think like me, like maybe I should, you know, talk more and that's where I'm at right now in my life. Is like I don't really say much. I kind of, just I do what I have to do, and but I'm very quiet in certain areas where I want to start being more vocal, and I do have a lot of feelings and a lot of things that I want to share, and a lot of people I want to like try and help, but I don't always like put myself out there. I kind of just, all right, I'm gonna do it, but when are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
So that's why when this opportunity came up, I'm like, wow, this is so great, like to be a part of this. This is awesome. Like I just so grateful that you are doing this, because this is really awesome.
It's crazy because I keep saying how humble you are, and like watching your highlights and watching you play, and then hearing your story. Like I'm a huge WNBA fan. I love women's basketball. I tell people all the time I like watching women basketball more than men because men's all ISO.
Yep.
So, hearing your story and everything else, like the person I reminded you of, I'm just gonna pop a picture of. You're gonna be like, yeah, no, but you know who that is.
Yes, of course.
She needs no explanation. And your story and everything about you is, especially what you're doing now, that's who I see in you. And your game, the way you talk on defense, the way you box out, the way you come around and picks, and then what you're doing now. What does someone like her mean to you?
So Maya Moore was, she was still, when I was coming up, she was obviously she's older than me, but she was UConn. And I don't know, you probably remember Maya Moore. When she was one of the first players that, I mean, her game like really well. She was one of the first players that I was watching and learning and picking up things from. And she would always do that underhand layup. And I remember being at the playground, the basketball courts, well, the old basketball courts at St. Patrick's before they removed them. I was with one of my best friends, Shay, and we literally used to say, "Do the Maya," and we were, like, on the court doing like the finger roll layups, and like that's who I started to like emulate a lot of things after, like Maya Moore and Candace Parker. Like those two were like my girls. Like Diana Taurasi, she was already in the WNBA, like settled. She's older than I am, but like to see like these girls in college and watch them in college was like huge for me, because a lot of I was doing, I was trying to emulate them. As well as LeBron James. I was, they were, that's who I was trying to copy everything.
And then not only like, not just because I could see her game in yours, but not only that, what she's doing with the Innocent Project and the way she started giving back and what you're doing too, because I could just see her impact on you. Yeah. But I know you mentioned it, you said Diana Taurasi, but you said the other name that I'm kind of bittersweet about. Those two right there.
Yeah.
You can only take one. Who you taking? So I know the answer, but I was going to ask you. I know the answer, but.
Yeah, so funny. I am a major LeBron fan.
All right. This podcast is over. We're gonna.
Yeah. Obviously, I will say that. I mean, we were from the East Coast, so I went with the East Coast team, and then as like the Cavs rose, like LeBron was really rising to stardom, and like I was infatuated, and then the Kobe and LeBron thing, it was definitely like cool. But I think LeBron was more, he was coming up as I was coming up, like really into basketball, and that's when like he was putting the Cavs on the map, and the Cavs are going to the Eastern Conference Finals when they, so they won it and then they lost to the Spurs. But like those are like what I remember. And I think I had just missed Kobe, even though he was so like monumental. But they didn't really play the Lakers over here that much, Celtics, Big Three, and like LeBron James. And like that's who I was like just watching all the time. So I think that's why I like really took a liking to LeBron. Because that was when my mind was like, ball is life. Like I'm really into this. Like, look at this guy. Like he's amazing. So I think that's where all that like love developed. He was like right here. It was easy for us to catch the Cavs. Couldn't really catch the Lakers. I didn't stay up late. Other than like highlights.
And when you see her, what do you think of?
I mean, obviously it's such an unfortunate situation, and like, breaks my heart, because she watching her highlights, my favorite move, the spin move. Anybody would tell you on the scouting report, spin move. And I remember watching her highlights on Twitter, right as she was, it was like, wow, like Kobe's daughter's nice. And she was doing spin moves and everything. I'm like, wow, that is awesome. Like, I was like, she's going to be unbelievable. she's gonna be unbelievable. I already knew she would have been like a top player. Coming up, she would have been a great college athlete, and then she would have been a great professional. So it's just one of those situations where you hate to see it. Literally, like, it's like that was. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Like, those are one of those things where that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So like in her case, there's so many. One thing that's hard with coaching the young kids is you have so many parents that want to, like, we call them hovering parents. So they want to coach from the sideline and tell you my daughter could do this, my son could do that, but then they don't have that drive.
Right.
And it was something with her that it wasn't forced. She loved the game.
She loved the game. Absolutely. And so I love that you brought that up, because so my biggest thing is when I was coaching, I was recruiting, I looked for energy. I looked for energy. I looked for, intangibles. That was important for me because, I was a passionate player. I was the type that if a good play happened, like, I'm going to react, like, I'm going to try and get the whole bench rallied up. And I think she literally she was a student of the game, and she honestly just would have just learned so much from her father, and it would have helped her. It would have translated. It's just really unfortunate. But yeah, you're right. It was definitely like she loved it. Like, it was passion. Like,
it's funny because I'm a diehard Laker fan. My middle name is Magic. I got the Kobe tattoo. But when you talk about student of the game, one of my favorite players is this guy right here.
Oh yeah, Jason Tatum.
Like, he's that new breed of guy that's putting in the work. And like you talked about film study earlier, how for that high school kid, how key is film? Because he lives at film. How key is, like you mentioned it earlier, but how key is film to these young kids?
Film is important, and I wish that somebody like sat me down and like had me drilled into film more. Because when I tell you, going to school up in Syracuse, we have long bus rides back this way to play, teams in Mass and Connecticut. So my assistant coach would be on the bus with me, and we're going over highlight films. And like, to me, that's when I was able to take what they really were saying and translate it to my game, to make those changes. Because a lot of us, let's be honest, like, we're visual people. Like, if you can visually see, all right, here's where I should have cut, or I should have like spaced out more, because on the court, your mind's going at like 1,000,000 miles per second. And like, you have to like literally slow the game down in your mind. But there's a lot of things that you can't control, but you can control. And you're factoring so many different things. So I think film helps you see that and a breakdown perspective. And then you're able to really like see it, absorb it, and then take it and then learn from it. So I think, for high school kids, young kids, if people are taping your games and your parents are there with their iPads on the tripod and you're annoyed by it, don't be annoyed by it, because, they're capturing some great film of yours. And also it helps you. Like, it's going to help you develop as a player.
Like, I know, like, right now, a lot of the parents and like the kids are upset because they can't go to the games. Like, I was telling my sister, it's key right now because all his games are being aired. So he has stuff that he can look back on, and he can watch, and he can learn from. And he's actually going to Stonehill next year. And I'm like, all your games are right there on NFHS, and you can watch them whenever you want. They're on YouTube. So you can learn from what you did, key mistakes and stuff like that. You just got to be a student of the game and study it.
Exactly. Literally, exactly. A lot of those professionals, I know when, your job solely to play basketball, football, whatever sport it is, like, you're doing a lot of like film. You're doing a lot of film prep. You're prepping for the teams in ways that like you wouldn't be if it was just something for like fun or, or like high school or like college. You're like you're really prepping. And I think one of the biggest things is I take a lot when I see LeBron, and I see how he is like. He's always like a student of the game, and I feel like he can run so many different teams right now as a head coach, just because he's so knowledgeable, and he does do a lot of film, and he's like really, he just dives right in and really studies every aspect of the game, even down to like his players that he's defending and other players on the team that can hurt them. Because, right before a game, when I got tested on the scouting report, all I really truly had to know for me, and this is my little, I'm going to share a secret with you, is I pretty much only studied the player I was guarding, which only hurt me, like I should have been studying everything, but like I was, all right, I need to know the person I'm guarding, I need to know their tendencies only, and instead, like, I wish that I was like studying the whole scout for what it is, and like really like sitting there and looking at their plays and just so that way it makes it make sense, you know people's, if you understand like what's going on in the play, and then you also understand your person's tendencies and within that play and what they like to do, then you're able to stop them. You're going to have more of an advantage because you're able to see like sweet spots or what they like to do when they like to curl off a screen on that play and like things that people are doing. Because as human beings, everything's like muscle memory, and like when you're doing stuff, you're gonna repeatedly do that stuff until like someone pretty much takes it away. If that's even if they can. So I think that film is crucial, and like you said, like that's super. It's like one of those things where you can't really go, and it's kind of frustrating because nothing like being present and watching a game. But now like you have all this like film out there, whereas like it would be hard for me to find a high school game for myself, like with you, but like
we had VHSs back then,
right? So for these kids, they're gonna have easy access to film.
And I know, like, especially you talking about it, like Rondo. Rondo's another one that he's so undervalued. What Rondo was doing was all the key things that, like, Rondo would get a triple-double without scoring because he would do all the other things that were important.
Right. He was so. I read Ray Allen's book, and Ray Allen was talking about Rondo for a little bit. He said like at times like the team will get like a little frustrated with Rondo because he was trying to like get the assist rather than like score when he should have just been scoring because it was open, like, and he's trying to make that extra pass just to get that assist. Which, obviously like he's one of those guys where he's gonna get the right men involved and really impact the game without scoring, which is, some people lose sight of that. There's a way to make an impact without scoring 20 points.
It's the next person I'm asking you for a different reason. It's the exact opposite of what we just said, but this guy. Oh yeah. I bring him up for the mental health aspect.
I was gonna say mental health. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And a lot of times I feel like he says stuff that's out there, but he's misunderstood. And especially at a time right now, like, what's your thoughts on mental health with the young kids in sports?
Yep. So like, so it translates back to my job. Working at St. Mary's, I learned so much about mental health. The kids are all struggling with all different types of things, and not even, they were teaching me things about myself. And like, while I was trying to teach them, I was like, wow, like I can apply that to myself, like coping skills or like just things to like cool down before you react and respond, and those things. And I thought that they were all pretty brutal on Kyrie when he took that little bit of a hiatus, especially Stephen A. He was telling him he should retire from basketball. I mean, obviously it's all sports talk, what gets attention, and it's the media. But however, I just thought that they should be more mindful of what everyone's going through. And like, unfortunately, like you and I can go through what we want to go through in private without everyone watching us or lights and cameras on us. But however, it looks much different for someone like him because he is such a key player to that team. And, he's a key player to the NBA overall. Like he's Kyrie Irving, like kids want to be like him, handles and everything. And I think it's positive that he's utilizing his platform for mental health because, and it's not like something that isn't discussed anymore. Like Kevin Love started talking about his mental health, and he wrote on Players Tribute. And like that sparked so many other people to really start, coming out about mental health and the stigmas, especially with men and male athletes at that. And, and going back to like what I said, the labels thing and what it means to be a man and all this other stuff, like that should honestly just be like washed away. But it's so embedded into the culture and every aspect that people can't escape it.
It's funny because I work 30 shifts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I was listening to I Am Athlete, and it's a great podcast. It was actually talking about it last night because they were talking about Vincent Jackson, who just passed away, and there's possible suicide. Played in the NFL 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the guys,
From Florida, yep. Okay.
yeah, one of the guys started crying, and Chad Ochocinco was saying that he was told at a young age that men don't cry, and so many times kids at that age they carry that through, where you can't cry because it shows signs of weakness, which I think is the exact opposite of what you need to be teaching these kids. Like, let the emotion out, let the feeling out.
Let it out. Like it's okay. And you know, and there was a time with a coworker, there was a one of the young kids, little boy, he was like screaming in the classroom, and she's like, "You're screaming like a girl." And I literally like had to say something to her, and I'm like, "Why are you telling him he's screaming like a girl? Like, if he wants to scream, it's so he needs to like get it out. Like, he shouldn't scream like when he's screaming, you know, it's disruptive. However, like, it should never be you're screaming like a girl."
Yeah.
You know, or any of that stuff. And even now, sometimes I catch myself doing things that are, you know, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, wow, like, I'm just saying that's just for women, when I, you know, just be more inclusive and mindful, like that, you know, we shouldn't, especially someone who's so young, like he's a young kid, you can catch him now. And you start, you know, building that into his mind. So it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's so embedded. I don't know, like, what. Obviously, I love this new generation coming up, like your son's generation. I love what they're being exposed to, and everything they're learning, because nobody talked to me about mental health, you know, and I didn't realize that I probably have anxiety like all my life. Like, I had no idea. And like, and the biggest medicine for me was sports, because I didn't know that it was anxiety. You know, I just would play sports and I felt better. I got my energy out. It made me feel better. But like, these conversations, they didn't happen with me. It didn't happen with you. Like, they didn't happen with a lot of people around my age. And like, one of the biggest things now was like, I can talk about mental health. Like, my father, he committed suicide. And mental health, and you know, like those kind of things. So when I really started learning more about mental health, I dove right in, and I was like, wow, I want to learn so much more about everything, because, you know, it's not discussed enough. And now it is, which I'm happy about.
Now, when you say basketball was like a cure for you and a medicine for you, or sports in general, do you think sometimes it could be too much for somebody?
Yes, I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies. I think at times when I felt I was gonna explode was because of my own pressure and my own, like, you know, as an athlete, like it's easy to get down on yourself and be negative in your mindset, like when you make a mistake. And there were times where I was positive with myself, but there's a lot of times where I was negative. And my coach at Lemoyne, Gina Costelli, she signed the whole team up for like this program. And it was, I forget the exact name of it. However, it was to teach us ways to be more positive with ourselves, like in our mind, to have positive self-talk. And, you know, it was like little things like finding a word, like an escape word that would just like kind of relax your mind, bring you back, and one of those things. And I'm gonna be real with you, I didn't take it serious. I thought at the time that I was really positive with myself and I was really good. And I wish that I had utilized that more, because it was honestly like a lot of things, tools and stuff being thrown at me that I just completely ignored, because I felt that I was okay without it already. Like, I was good enough without it, when it's never that. It could always help me develop more. And that's another thing too. I tell people, be positive with yourself in your mind. Like, be kind to yourself. I can't tell you how many times where someone gets something wrong, they're like, oh, I'm so stupid. Like don't say it's a joke or you don't mean it, because obviously there's a truth to every joke. But like, you know, just be kind to yourself. That's it. That's why I always like try and tell myself, like, be kind, like, be easy.
It's funny because I had a couple pictures up, and every single one, without me saying it, you just transitioned into the next one. You just did it again. Wow. You did it again with the last picture, but it was about pressure. The pressure, like, for these young kids coming up, and this guy here, the pressure that's on his shoulders, and especially now with social media, I hear so many times people are like, "Oh, why did he waste the pick on him? He's supposed to be from the only reason why he's on PC is because he's from the city." The pressure that he gets, he's not even 20 years old. And everyone was saying he's the savior for the city. He's the savior. Pressure for a young kid. What do you tell him when it comes to pressure, like being recruited, coming out of, say, Providence, and a local team looks at you? How do you deal with that pressure?
So I think, obviously, being a hometown kid, playing for your hometown on such a big stage like the Big East is, like a big honor already. I think when I think about pressure and, wanting to do great things, I just would say my advice would always be first thing first, like be patient with yourself. I think obviously everyone can sit here and say they followed David Duke from the start of his career to now, where he's doing absolutely phenomenal, and you can see his tremendous growth. In the beginning, it was like people were probably like, okay, like maybe he went too high. I don't know what people were thinking of him, because I didn't have those conversations with a lot of my friends, but it's those things where people truly got to see him evolve and see how he managed that pressure, because I'm sure there were times where he felt like he was letting everybody down when he wasn't going out there and dropping like 20 points or hitting milestones, like scoring his 1,000 point. And it's just like, I think when you're from the city and you're playing for a city, you're going to have the magnitude's going to be far greater than if he had went away. So I just commend him because he stuck with it, and I think he put a lot of time in behind closed doors that nobody's watching. Like everyone could sit there and critique him about every game he's playing, but nobody really knows what he's doing behind closed doors. And except for like obviously himself and the people close to him, but I think now everyone knows the work he put in behind closed doors because of how he's doing his senior year.
And it's crazy because I think a lot of the pressure too is because he was following Chris Dunn, he was following Cartwright, he was following Cotton. So all these point guards came up, and he was just the next point guard in line. And I think what helped him big was he learned from God Shamgard, and God Shamgard was a huge influence. So if you had to say, who's your top 3 influences coming up for you personally?
My top, is it celebrities or
whoever you say inspired you the most?
I would have to say, honestly, my father, his situation, he was a really talented basketball player. I think he was like at the forefront of it all. He truly inspired me. I would say definitely Candace Parker. She was like a famous person that inspired me. And then a lot of it too, I would say definitely LeBron. He inspired me. I dubbed myself with the nickname Lebronica. But that was just a joke on my team. But yeah, it was just they literally, well, mainly my father. I want to say like he pushed me the most. But when I saw what Candace Parker was doing straight from college into the WNBA, like I wanted that all. Like I literally had it mapped out because I graduated 8th grade in 2008, high school in 2012. And obviously those were like the same years the Olympics were happening. So I was calculating down, like when I graduated college this year, I could be eligible because it'll be an Olympic year. I can possibly play in the Olympics. And it was just like that drove me.
Man, you mentioned, I don't want to, before we go, I don't want to just forget about it. It just slipped my mind till you said that. Cape Verde national team.
Oh, yes.
What? I mean, people don't understand. Like when I was in the military, I'm traveling around. I say Cape Verde. They're like, "What is Cape Verde?"
Right, exactly.
In Rhode Island, Cape Verde is probably the secondary language. What was that like playing for the national team?
That was a huge honor. A huge honor. I got to learn the culture. I got to see the world. Like I've been to freaking Mozambique, which I never even thought I would ever get there. It wasn't on a list. It was honestly such a humbling experience as well. I also got in the best shape of my life. I got to learn what it's like to be like a professional athlete because they flew us there, and this is my first long flight ever, 6.5 hours. Right, we got off the plane, they fed us breakfast and sent us to the gym to play, and it was a 3-hour practice. 3-hour practice. Only sleep I got was on the flight, and and I look a hot mess, and I'm just tired, and I'm out there on the court, and it really taught me a lot. I learned a lot about my body. just getting it right. And that's why, truth be told, honestly, what fueled my sophomore season before I left Rick was the work I did on the Cape Verdean national team.
Yes, we're almost going to wrap up. So we got some rapid fire questions for you. So I ask quick questions. First thing that comes to mind, the first one, my son, big Fortnite guy. So you jump out of an airplane with a parachute, you land, you got to survive for 1 week. It's you and 5 people. Who you taking?
I'm taking my girlfriend. I'm taking my dog. I'm going to take my friend Sam, Pat, and probably wow, who else do I take? That's it. I'm gonna take that's it. All my friends Shay, probably. That's it.
And you, after it's over, you get back, you have your go-to meal. What are you having?
Go-to meal. I would have to say a Donnie Brasco from Big Tony's.
Next. Now are you at home right now?
Yeah, I'm at home.
You got a lot of Rhode Island behind you. You must love. I'm seeing the pictures in the background. I'm like, that's all Rhode Island.
Oh yeah, I love these. I love to pay homage to Providence. Like, sorry, my guest room's a little messy, but
No, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I love waffles, coffee milk. Obviously, a huge piece of Rhode Island.
Every Monday during the summertime, buy one get one.
Oh, there's still buy one get one till I think Sunday through Thursday. Buy one get one, half off.
I know the answer for 2 of these, but you got an old woman starting 5. Who you taking?
Oh. All right, I'm gonna take myself. Obviously, I'll take Maya Moore. I also love Alana Beard. She's a lefty like me. I'm gonna take Candace Parker, and then I'm gonna do Cheryl Miller. She's a beast.
Throwback, okay. And NBA all-time starting 5.
I got obviously my main man LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, KD, and then I'll throw Anthony Davis on there too.
Okay. And then do you play 2K at all?
I do not.
No?
But I do not, yeah.
You don't play 2K? And what are you listening to?
I am listening to, it's so funny, let me see. It's a lot of random music. I guess right now, if I were to play a song, I would probably be playing No More Parties.
But
I think her name is like Coy Lorraine. It's like one of the famous like TikTok songs.
Yeah, my son, he watches the TikTok, but he's not on TikTok. I'm like, yeah, no, he'll just watch him. All right, if you're coaching any play you want, you got 2 seconds on the clock. Who's shooting the ball?
LeBron James.
No, I said it's 2 seconds. The game's on the line. You need to make the basket.
LeBron James.
Like I said, he's gonna pass the ball off.
No, he's not. Stop playing with me, because like I'm gonna tell him to take the shot, and he's gonna take the shot. He's gonna make the best play for the team.
Pass it to Alex Caruso is the best play.
Come on, why you so hard on my guy? You're a Lakers fan.
I'm a Lakers fan, not a LeBron fan.
Oh, come on, he does everything.
Now I know you say you played a little center, but you play a little point guard too. What do you say your natural position is?
Oh, I'm definitely like a 3 guy.
3?
Absolutely. That's when I had the most success. I think when I went to Lemoyne, I was able to be a guard.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I felt truly I was really at my right position.
And then finally, before I go, I just want to say again, the reason why I had you on is because I want to give you your roses. And again, because there's so many times, there's so many heroes around us, so many role models around that the young people don't get to see it. I mean, I could say it better, but the way you speak is so fluent, and that's what the people need to see, especially with so many young basketball players playing on the different circuits. They don't get to see what inspiration is like. So what do you leave with that young basketball player, that young person in general, who's chasing their dreams, and they face adversity, whether it be injury, whether it be life in general? What do you leave them with?
So I think the biggest thing is, don't get caught up in the hype, like the Division I hype. Don't get caught up in any of that. Mm-hmm. Continue working at your game, perfecting your craft, and and when you are assessing, these teams that want you, like make sure they have your best interest, and also make sure you're gonna go to a place where you can make an impact. At the end of the day, when your career is all said and done, Everyone wants to have made an impact in some way or another. And, you know, don't just go out there chasing something because it's Division I. Like, go out there and do what's best for you, and make it happen.
And I definitely appreciate it. Sometimes when you have people like you are so humble, you say like do what's best for you, but people like you are doing what's best for the community. And that's what I wanted to bring light to, because nothing you do I don't seem like is about you. It's always about helping the person next to you and giving back. And we need more people like that. People who are willing to scrap and get on the boards, and people willing to go work in child services now. It's all about giving back and having that mindset that the better you are is the better the way the world's going to be around you. And that's why I salute you, and I want to appreciate you coming on.
No, again, I truly appreciate you having me on. I love what you guys are doing. Like I said before, I think it's awesome. You know, I can't wait to have like a little mini me around too, and just, you know, drag them along and expose them to different things such as this. Like, this is awesome.
Definitely. Again, I appreciate it, and stay safe out there. This wind's crazy.
Yes, you too. I know. Yeah. Someone called Rhode Island, Chicago on my Facebook, and I was laughing. Chicago, Rhode Island.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right, take care. Thank you so much.
No problem.